It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is March 24th. It is a Monday, and this is the B block, which means we start around 7 o'clock or 7:20 or so. Reason I mention that is a lot of people listen to the show in the future on our podcast, which is bjshow.co, on our video podcast, which is bjshow.video, and I think it's always good to have a frame of reference as to when this show aired, because some of the things we talk about historically will make sense. Okay, first off, John, my trip to Jefferson City, okay? You make fun of me for this, and I go down, and I had a dual purpose this time. I had to pick up a set of personalized license plates, and then I had to get my stupid real ID back, which I had once upon a time, and I lost, and I couldn't get it back. There's a whole story behind that. So I drove to Jefferson City, okay? I know you're going to make fun of me about this because you always do, but let me just give you the highlights of the story. You ready for this?
I'm ready.
I drive down. It was a very nice drive on Friday morning. Weather was perfect. Sun was out. Very nice drive. Okay, I get to Jefferson City. There's a parking spot, has my name on it, right next to the Truman State Office building. I walk in at about 8:10 on Friday morning, and there's one other person in the place. I go up to the concierge. They have a concierge right there, and I say what I'm there for. He gives me my number. I put my butt in the seat before, and I'm there maybe 30 seconds, and there's one person ahead of me that's already at the window. Matter of fact, two people. One guy was in a wheelchair, and the other guy was helping him out. And he made the comment, you ready for this, John? We drove down here from St. Louis because every time we go to one of the St. Louis driver's license bureaus or DOR offices, wherever he said, they always screw things up. And the lady who worked behind the counter, who was a DOR employee, says, if I had $1 for every time I've heard that, I could retire. So I felt like, okay, it's not just me. So I get my number called. Very nice guy. I mean, once again, this is like 2 minutes after I walk in the door. Very nice guy, sits me down, and, I get my stuff, take care of it. I'm done in 5 minutes. And I said to him, what do I do? Where do I go for my driver's license? And he says, see those elevators? And they're right outside the door. He says, go in those elevators and punch floor 4. He says, you're on floor 3 right now, which that building started confusing because you don't really realize what floor you're on because it's weird the way the building's built.
Yep.
So he says, just go on 4th floor. When the doors open, go to your right, and you're right there. So I get on the elevator, walk like maybe 20 paces, get on the elevator, go up the next floor, walk off. I walk right up to the window. Nobody waiting. And the lady takes care of me. I'm in and out with my new license plates and my new real ID in less than 15 minutes. I would say like maybe 12 or 13 minutes. It was like amazing.
That's amazing. And that drive, as much as I give you grief about it and give you a hard time, it makes sense for you and like the elderly disabled guy. It's not like you guys had anything else to do on Friday. So you guys could drive down there. And even if it took 3 times that long, you don't have anywhere to be. So like it makes sense to go down there and get your issues handled competently and then just get back to town and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
I wish it were that simple, John. I wish it were that simple because I had a crazy weekend. I'm still recovering from the tornado of the week before, the nasty storms. As a matter of fact, when I went to one of the transmitter sites, I discovered some serious damage that I missed the first time around, but that's a whole nother story. Okay, the initiative petition issue. If you don't, we're talking about this last go around. We had Amendment 2, which was the gambling. We had Amendment 3, which is abortion. Okay, and every year, the supermajority of the Republicans say, we're going to get that initiative petition reform so they can't just jam these constitutional amendments down our throat. Right, John?
Right.
And every year, what happens?
The legislation does not pass.
Right. It goes nowhere. Okay. I'm driving back. See, I do my best thinking when I'm driving. I'm driving back and I'm thinking, I'm listening to various talk shows, and I was listening to Gary Nolan on the Eagle. You know who he is? He's really good talk show host as well, too. And I'm thinking to myself, I have the way where all the legislators, every single person who gets a paycheck from the government, and we're talking senators, representatives, mayors, and stuff like that, will instantly get this passed. And here's how, you know how you do it, John?
Yeah, you make their pay raises have to be passed by a certain threshold of voters.
Oh, no, not that at all. What you do is you just essentially say, we're going to, and you mobilize the citizens of the state of Missouri. And let's just take St. Charles County. If everybody in St. Charles County donated $10, you could raise $4 million, okay? Let's take the entire St. Louis metro area, okay, which has we're not going to count the east side people. Let's just the Missouri people. Let's say that's one. Let's just, for the sake of argument, say it's 1 million. It's actually more than that, but we're going to say it's 1 million people, okay? If each one of those persons gave $10, that would be what? 100 million people? Or no, would be $10 million? Would it be $100 million?
Yeah, that's right.
$100 million. $100 million. Okay. Here's the ballot initiative. Okay. Outlawing personal and property taxes. And you run an advertising campaign, and essentially this is a total grassroots operation where essentially you get all the citizens of the state of Missouri to say, we're tired of renting our property. We're tired of renting our cars. We're tired of renting our houses and our businesses and any other thing that the government, taxes with real estate taxes or personal property taxes. We're tired of that, and we're going to pass a constitutional initiative that all taxes, personal and property taxes, are hereby eliminated. Okay? How quick do you think the Republicans and the Democrats would get together, hold hands, put arms around each other and go, we got to stop this? How quick would that happen, John?
I get exactly what you're saying. What you're saying is that we would take the stick approach rather than the carrot.
Yes.
Instead of encouraging legislators to do what we think is right, we're going to threaten to take all their revenue away, and then they would move their butts.
What do you think, John?
Yeah, I mean, it's not feasible. Like, it wouldn't happen. But I think it's a great creative idea, though.
Why wouldn't it happen?
Well, you're not going to get the citizens of Missouri to mobilize on anything. I mean, you can barely get them to get enough signatures to get an initiative petition on the ballot.
Okay, but
and like you said, Brad, I love what's adorable when you talk about grassroots campaigns like they're a real thing or something. You would need somebody if you had somebody that could come in and drop, $10 million, maybe an anti-tax group. You could get some funding. There will be no grassroots effort, and it's adorable when people like you talk about that kind of thing like it's a real thing. But in theory, Brad, putting that on the ballot would get legislators, I think, to move quickly.
Oh, you're darn right it would. They would mobilize like you'd never see them move so fast, because in fact they go like, well, hold on a minute now. That means we won't have all this money to play with, right?
Yeah. Well, and you've seen that, and you tell the story frequently, Brad. You could tell it again of, you go to a council of Gateway East-West, people that are in charge of municipalities. And what would a Lynn Pagano say about a Bill Eigel proposal to cut property taxes?
But see, this is where I think Bill Eigel is disingenuous, and I'm going to call him out because of the fact that he's the guy that's always talking about, is he talking about getting rid of personal property and real estate, or just personal property? I thought he was just going after personal property. Wasn't that what he was going after?
I'm not sure exactly what his legislation was. I think Bill Eigel would probably say all of it.
Well, but I think he's being disingenuous, because if he were really truly interested in doing that, he's got enough pull right now. Everybody knows who's at in the state of Missouri because he ran for governor. He beat Jay Ashcroft in the primary. I mean, he's got that cachet.
Yep, we got it. What should he do?
Start his own group. Instead of
and he should do that at the same time that he's running for county council?
No, not run for county council. I mean, no, he's county executive. He's
county executive. At the same time he's running for county exec, he should also try to run a statewide campaign?
John, let's be honest. The county executive position in St. Charles County, that position's beneath him. It really is. I mean, you know what? That's a job that somebody takes. That's the end of their career job. If the county executive, like, for example,
like a Steve Ellman or a Joe Whitworth, they were both state legislators, and then they wrapped up their career as county exec. I get your point.
Right. They were both state legislators. With Steve Ellman, he became a judge as well too, and essentially I think he's what, 72 or 73 now or something like that. Something like. He's done a great job, but this is it. He's going to retire after this. So Bill Eigel's a young guy. I think Bill Eigel is only like 31 or 32, isn't he? Something like that. No, seriously.
I think he's probably about 4. He's about my age. I'd put him around late 40s.
I don't think he's that old, is he?
He definitely is. Go ahead. He graduated from Purdue around the same time I graduated from college.
He graduated from Purdue?
Yeah.
So he graduated from the chicken place?
He learned how to feather chickens and behead them as well. That's why he would say that state senators are running around like chickens with their heads cut off.
Because he's seen that personally, up close and
Yeah,
personal.
because he used to do it.
Okay, but see, I think he's totally why don't I call him and ask him? Why don't I do that?
Yeah, why not?
Can I tell you something else that's sort
Go
of funny?
ahead.
Can I tell you something else that's sort of funny? Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not trying to antagonize him. On the way down there, I'm punching buttons. I'm listening to the morning show on 94.1, okay? And I'm listening to, this is the J3 crew. This is, what's the guy's name? You know who the guys are in 90. Gabe somebody or other, and Mike somebody or other, okay?
Oh, Mike Ferguson, yeah.
Mike Ferguson, okay. Who, by the way, if you know the story, did you know he almost died of COVID? Did you know that story?
No way.
Yeah, when he had COVID, he had actually ended up in the hospital. I think he was actually on a ventilator for a while. He was very close to death, which is very sad. Okay.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Anyway, they're talking about the fact that, matter of fact, this is sort of funny. I'm driving along, and it's time for me to stop because I didn't have my soda, and I didn't have my Little Debbie, so I'm going to hit one of the C-stores on the way on I-70. So he says, and coming up at 6:30, we're going to have Bill Eigel on the phone. And I go, well, I'll just keep driving, because it was about 6:25 when I heard this. And I thought to myself, I'll get off here. No, I'll just keep driving. I'll pick one further down the road. So 6:30 comes around, and they go, now on the phone is Dave somebody or other. And I'm thinking to myself, I thought they said they were going to have Bill Eigel on. And you hear the silence, and he goes, Dave, are you there? And then he goes, oh, no, it's Bill Eigel. So.
Oh, okay. So they got the name wrong. They got confused.
Right, they got confused. So I texted Bill Eigel, hey, Dave, nice segment this morning in 94.1. He didn't respond.
Well, he probably, maybe it was before they brought him on, and he didn't hear the Dave part from them.
No, he did. I know he did because.
Oh, okay.
So anyway, and you know what? Can I tell you something? He sounded like he was half asleep.
Well, maybe I mean, most functional people have kids that are on spring break. He might have been somewhere. He might have been up late with the kids on spring break.
But you say he's old, though. He wouldn't have kids anymore then, right?
And he certainly would if he's just about my age.
Okay, so that's my trip to Jefferson City, okay? And by the way, the crazy thing about this is that, you drive around in Jefferson City, and I can't help but think, man, Elon Musk would have a fun day with this place. You know what I'm saying? There's so much.
What do you mean? By what way?
There's so much waste. Matter of fact, I almost took this picture, and I thought to myself, no, I get myself in trouble. Do you know when you walk in, back in the day, when I used to go to the Truman State Office Building, when you go through the main doors on the upper level, you had to fight your way through the smokers, okay? You don't know about this because you don't go down there that much. And then they put up signs, no smoking within 25 feet of the door. You know what I'm talking about? You've seen those at probably other buildings as well.
Oh, yeah,
too.
for sure.
Okay. There's a lower entrance entry to the Truman State Office Building. I don't know the street you park on. It's the one that goes up the hill, and there's Truman State buildings on your right and the Capitol's on your left. But at the end of this long tunnel kind of thing where you walk through this area, there's a very end of it, there's a very, very prominent no smoking sign on the wall. And here's a state office worker with her ID badge hanging around her neck, smoking under the no smoking sign.
Oh, that would have made that'd be perfect for your wacky Facebook page, Brad.
That's what I'm thinking about myself. There's the picture of the day. The state office worker who's leaning up against the wall of the Truman State Office Building with a no smoking sign above her head, and she's smoking. You know, it's things like that that just make my life. You know what I'm saying, John? It's other people.
Yeah. I mean, she's just protesting a little bit. She's having a one-woman protest about it.
Right. You know what? You know what she needs to do? She needs to get in touch with Bill Eigel. They might be kindred spirits, don't you think?
Oh, I thought you were going to say she needs to get in touch with Cori Bush's husband and you, and then they could get a 3-person loan for a larger smoking area, a brand new transmitter, and then some personal security loans.
Okay. Also, I heard something over the weekend, and I thought this was interesting. Have you ever heard of the term moving day?
No, I haven't.
I heard this over the weekend. I thought it was fascinating. And this happened primarily in New York City, but it happened all over the country. You ready for this?
I am.
Moving day was a tradition in New York City dating back to colonial times and lasting until after World War II, which would have been in the late 40s, early 50s. On February 1st, sometimes known as Rent Day, landlords would give notice to their tenants that the new rent would be after the end of the quarter. And the tenants would spend good weather days in early spring searching for new houses and best deals. On May 1st, all leases in the city of New York expired simultaneously at 9 a.m., causing thousands of people to change their residence all at the same time. Have you ever heard of that before?
No, and that sounds like pandemonium.
And it says the tradition was likely derived from the practice of Verschuttagen, I can't pronounce it, with contracts in the Netherlands generally ending on May 1st, while the Encyclopedia of New York City links it instead of the English celebration of May Day. Washington Irving's satirical 1809 novel, A History of New York, gives an origin myth centering on a movement on that date of early Dutch colonialists on the Kamapaw ferry route across the Hudson from New Jersey, while later fanciful writers such as Arthur Gudemeyer ascribed to it as the date of the first crossing of the Atlantic from the Netherlands. So everybody would move on May 1st. And supposedly this, and I don't think I've ever heard of this in the St. Louis, but this grew across the country, and there were certain cities that this became a big deal. Not necessarily just New York City, but cities all over the country where you would move on May 1st. And the interesting part of this was, they said, and part of the study was, this was interesting, this guy was describing this, that back in the day, they go back like 100, 150 years, most people moved every year. And this was attributed to the moving day thing, that most people had.
Wow, that's amazing. So if you're transient, you would just have to pack up once a year and just keep it moving.
You just keep moving, and you just, you take your stuff. As a matter of fact, it's interesting because on this Wikipedia article, it shows, it's interesting, it shows, and it says Moving Day in Little Old New York, and it's a painting from 1827, and it shows the streets just filled with people with wagons and all their goods, their luggage and stuff stacked on top of the wagons, and they're all moving to the new place. And I'm thinking to myself, did anybody stay in their place? I mean, did you have to move?
But the real question is, where would the 1840s version of Brad Hildebrand take their 7 hand-propelled lawnmowers? Like, could they move them all in one little wagon? You get what I'm saying? What about the version of Brad that's got 7 unnecessary pieces of lawn equipment?
John, I don't have a hand-propelled lawnmower. That's for wimpazoids. All my lawnmowers.
Hey, no, but that was in 1840. You wouldn't have had a gas-propelled one, would you?
Yeah, I would have. Nobody else would have.
You would have. You would have tinkered in your garage for one. Brett,
that's right. I would have had a hydrogen powered one. That's what it would have been. Okay, we have to take a break.